It all started when the HOA decided to block my lodge access. They had no idea I owned the only bridge that led to it. I watched in quiet amusement as Karen, the self-appointed association watchdog, dialed the police when her master key failed at my farm lodge, only to have my spouse calmly answer the phone. Her panic was palpable. Not long after, they tried breaking down the lodge door to get me. But my visitor's presence made her lament everything she'd done. They put a barrier around my pond entrance, assuming they could control my property, but I simply bought the land with the only entrance key. When they attempted to cut off water to my pond lodge, they had no clue that I controlled their entire plumbing line. The next escalation came when they tore down my bridge. I retaliated by pulling the plug on their $4 million leisure spot. Karen called the police when I refused to move closer to her pond, only to be stunned when I produced my official pass. Even when I encamped at my own ranch pond, she dialed emergency services, unaware that the real intruders were her and her HOA entourage. Their tactics became increasingly desperate. They blocked my ranch access with barriers, so I transformed their entrance into a private toll path. They demolished my trees to improve their views, and as a result of my legal victory, I now owned that land thanks to a $1.4 million judgment. Karen's obsession escalated. She repeatedly smashed my mailbox, only for me to replace it with one they didn't expect. She even called emergency services when I returned early from a trip, unaware she had actually auctioned off my own ranch. They tried to repossess my vehicles, failing to realize I owned the towing company they relied upon. Karen's audacity reached a peak when she attempted to hijack my naval patrol vessel, only for the judge to drag her into a $350,000 judgment. When they demanded I demolish my lodge in 48 hours, I simply tripled their lease overnight. And after penalizing me $500 for fishing in my own pond, I made it private and locked them out entirely. Karen's misadventures didn't stop there. She removed my garden while I was away, freezing when she received a state penalty in the mail. She even tried to remove my spouse from our property, only to discover she was the actual authority in the association. She kicked me out of the reservoir and called the police, not realizing I ran every association around the area. When she repeatedly stole power to charge her electric vehicle, I installed a circuit that fried her setup. The HOA attempted to invite a real estate agent to tour my lodge as if it were for sale. I responded by securing the entrance and posting my own sign. They cut one of my trees in half over a dispute, inadvertently creating the hottest photo spot in the district. Karen dialed the police again when I left the association, but her plan backfired when my child presented official credentials and detained her. They fenced off my ranch entrance, but now they pay me each time they drive through. When they demolished my pond bridge, I simply drained their $2 million pondside leisure spot. Attempts to remove me from my pond lodge were futile, as I owned the entire lot and their boat dock. Bulldozing my residence while I was away didn't help either. My drone streamed everything live to the police. Karen's repeated calls to emergency services when I encamped at my own pond revealed a shocking truth. They had been intruding for years. Parking my vessel at my farm pond led to a 30-minute frenzy before I bought the entire dock. Their ignorance of my non-membership didn't stop them from sending police to my ranch. They had no idea who they were dealing with. When they dug a well on my ranch, they didn't know the district's main water line ran below it. Taking my private path to build a road turned into a trap they'll never forget. A phony HOA cop kept parking on our ranch, so my grandfather chained their vehicle and dragged it into the stream. Every call to police when I encamped at my ranch pond revealed the irony. They were the intruders all along. Karen's bigoted child demanded groceries, prompting her to call the police, only to discover I was the local police leader. Building 120 homes on my land backfired, as my legal trap now controlled their future. Burning down my residence for refusing membership proved futile. I had written the very laws they broke. Karen once called emergency services on my pond tent. Within 10 minutes, I owned her street and blocked her path. When she tried to steal my EV charger, my DIY trap delivered a lesson she won't forget. And when she dialed emergency services after I started digging at 6 a.m., I made trash day her new daily alarm clock, ensuring she'd never underestimate me again. In the end, Every overreach, every intrusion, every petty act of aggression by the HOA had one predictable outcome. It always backfired. Property lines, legal rights, and sheer audacity were my weapons, and each time Karen and her HOA underestimated me, they reinforced a truth they couldn't escape. Ownership and clever strategy always win in the end.